Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're looking at a piece of gear that, well, it really stretched what people thought a guitar pedal could even be.
Yeah.
We're putting the Electro Harmonix HOG, that's the harmonic octave generator, under the microscope.
Oh, yeah, the HOG.
Oh, shit.
It's way more than just an effect pedal, isn't it? It was like EHX crammed a polyphonic synth module into, a pedal format.
Right.
When that thing landed in 2007, it wasn't just physically bigger. It felt like a totally different approach to making sound with a guitar.
Okay, so let's get into that. Our mission here is to figure out how EHX managed to take polyphonic pitch shifting, something they'd already worked on, and just launch it into another dimension, creating something that, frankly, even now, 15, 16 years later, still feels pretty unique in its scope.
Absolutely. And you really have to rewind a couple of years first, back to 2005. You got to talk about the POG.
The original polyphonic octave generator.
Exactly. That pedal was huge for them. It basically solved the big problem with older octave pedals tracking chords. The POG could handle full chords, shifting every note cleanly without glitching out. It was a game changer.
So the POG kind of laid the groundwork, proved the tech was solid.
Right. But the thinking inside EHX, from what we've gathered in the sources, was, okay, we've done octaves up and down. What's next? How do we push this way further?
They had the foundation, now they wanted the skyscraper.
Precisely. And the HOG, coming out in '07, was that skyscraper. The real leap wasn't just more octaves. It was moving into proper harmonic synthesis. It's officially called a polyphonic DSP-powered pitch and harmonics generator.
Okay, harmonics generator. That sounds more complex than octave pedal. Why does that difference matter, practically speaking, for a musician plugging into this thing? Did it sound that different?
Oh, hugely different. It mattered because it gave you way more sonic building blocks and fine control. It wasn't just an on-off effect for one sound anymore. It was this machine for creating entirely new textures. And you could tell just by looking at it, right? That big old EXO box covered in sliders, 10 of them, plus all the knobs. It just screamed complex instrument.
Yeah, it definitely looked more like some kind of compact synth module than a regular pedal.
Totally.
And the power requirement, 18 volts DC, that always stands out. Most pedals are 9 volts.
Right. That detail alone tells you something. It signals, okay, this thing needs serious juice. It pointed to a pretty heavy-duty digital brain inside, a DSP capable of doing a lot of complex math all at once to handle, 10 different polyphonic voices smoothly.
You couldn't really do that reliably on 9 volts back then, especially if you wanted it fast.
Exactly. Fast tracking, low latency, that's key if you want it to feel like an extension of your instrument, not just a delayed effect.
Okay, let's talk about that DSP engine then, because that's where the HOG really flexes its muscles. What kind of voices, what harmonic intervals did it actually give you?
It was a huge range, way beyond standard octavers. It felt like it was built for, orchestral sounds almost. You got the essential low-end stuff first, the sub-octaves, Monaco 1 and Nigus 2, really thickens things up.
Standard enough so far, but then
it climbs way up. You get +1, +2, +3, and even +4 octaves above your original note.
4 octaves up, wow.
Yeah, that's where you get into that airy, flute-like territory, or really bright, cutting, synth-led sounds. But the thing that really made it a harmonic generator, not just an octave stacker, was adding the fifths.
The +5 above and the -5 below. Why are those intervals so musically important for this kind of sound creation?
Well, think about natural sound. The fifth is like the strongest, most consonant harmonic after the octave itself. Adding those fifth intervals in just makes everything sound instantly richer, fuller, more like an organ or maybe strings.
Right. Without them, it might sound a bit sterile.
Yeah, kind of thin or purely electronic. The fifths add that body, that harmonic complexity you need for those really big, convincing textures, walls of sound, basically.
So you could mix, say, a sub-octave, your dry signal, maybe 2 upper octaves, and a fifth all at once.
And more. Up to 10 voices total, including the original dry signal and some detuned voices for chorus-like effects. And you controlled all that with the sliders. That was the heart of it.
The mix and control section.
Exactly. Those 10 sliders let you independently mix the level of each voice. It was like having a mini 10-channel mixer right there on the pedal, just for the harmonic content. That's how you could dial in specific organ drawbar settings or craft these complex synth pads.
That level of mixing is powerful, definitely. But the HOG didn't stop at just generating the pitches, right? It started acting like a synthesizer on the tone itself.
Absolutely. That's the next layer. It moved into filter shaping. They put in a whole filter envelope section, which is, straight out of classic synthesizer design.
Okay, filter envelope section. Sounds technical. Break that down. It had a resonant low-pass filter.
And an envelope follower. What's that doing? Okay, yeah. So the envelope follower, it basically listens to how loud you're playing. It tracks the volume, the amplitude of each note.
Right.
And then it uses that loudness information to control something else. In the HOG's case, it controlled the filter's cutoff frequency, how bright or dark the sound is.
Ah, got it. So if I play harder, the sound gets brighter, and if I play softer, it stays darker.
Exactly. The filter opens up more when you hit the strings harder, letting more high frequencies through. It gives you dynamic control over the tone, the timbre, makes the synthesized sound feel much more responsive, more organic, like you're shaping it with your playing dynamics.
That makes synthesized sounds feel less static, more alive.
Totally. And speaking of making things feel organic, or maybe less like a guitar, there was the envelope bend feature.
Right, that affects the attack and decay. Why was that included? What kind of sounds did that let you make?
This was brilliant. It's all about controlling how the sound starts. If you want something to sound like a bowed string instrument, like a cello, you need to get rid of that sharp pick attack, right?
Yeah, you need that slower swell into the note.
Precisely. The envelope bend lets you dramatically slow down the attack of all those generated harmonics. It could totally smooth out the start of the note, making your guitar sound much more like a string section swelling in, or maybe like pipes in an organ slowly speaking. It just transforms the character away from plucked string.
Okay, this is an incredible amount of sound shaping packed into one box, but how usable was it live? All those sliders and nogs seem like a lot to manage on stage.
That's where the expression pedal input became absolutely crucial. It was like the key to unlocking the HOG as a real-time performance instrument.
Ah, okay. So you could control things with your foot.
Yes. And EHX gave you several notes for it. You could assign the expression pedal to control different things. You could sweep the filter frequency, getting these huge, expressive wah-like sounds, but much bigger and affecting all the harmonics.
Kind of like opening and closing a giant sonic curtain?
Yeah, exactly that feeling. Or you could assign it to pitch bending. Basically turn it into a foot-controlled whammy bar for that entire stack of 10 voices.
Whoa.
But maybe the most mind-blowing use was controlling glissandos. You could set the pedal to smoothly sweep the pitch of the entire harmonic stack up or down, over octaves sometimes.
Sure.
You could create these incredible smooth sliding transitions between chords. Very synth-like, very dramatic.
That sounds amazing. And that brings us to what many people consider the HOG's signature feature, right? The freeze-gliss function.
Oh, absolutely. This was the feature that really sealed the deal for a lot of experimental players and sound designers. The freeze part. It does exactly what it sounds like.
It just holds the note or chord?
Yep. You hit a chord, step on the freeze switch, and the HOG captures that exact sound and just sustains it indefinitely, like hitting the sustain pedal on a piano, but it just hangs there forever until you switch it off.
So you can play a big, complex chord, freeze it, and then solo over it, or just let it hang there.
Exactly. It turns your guitar into an instant drone machine or an ambient pad generator. Hit a chord, freeze it, take your hands off the guitar. The sound just floats there.
Okay, that's cool, but where does the gliss part come in with the expression pedal?
This is the really neat part. Once a sound was frozen, you could then use the expression pedal in gliss mode to sweep the pitch of that entire sustained chord up and down.
Whoa, okay, so you hold this complex chord sound and then glide it around smoothly with your foot.
Yeah. Imagine freezing a big minor chord and then smoothly sliding its pitch up an octave and back down. It creates these huge, evolving soundscapes, or shimmering, shifting backdrops. That function alone was worth the price of admission for many.
I can see why. When you put all that together, the 10 voices, the fifths, the filter, the envelope shaping, the expression control, and that freeze gliss, what's the overall sonic result? What does it feel like?
It feels massive.
Yeah.
It means you can create these incredibly dense, complex sounds. Truly orchestral walls of sound, or spot-on impersonations of big, fat analog synths or classic organs.
That's specific emulations.
Yeah, surprisingly specific. People dialed in sounds that got remarkably close to, say, a Hammond B3 organ, capturing that Leslie speaker swirl with modulation, or emulating the sound of old string synthesizers like a mellotron, using that slow attack from the envelope bend.
And this power obviously didn't go unnoticed by prominent musicians.
Not at all. It popped up on a lot of pedal boards pretty quickly. Guitarists known for pushing sonic boundaries, you mentioned Jack White, also folks like Nels Cline. They used it to suddenly sound like there was an organ player or a string section on stage, especially useful in smaller band formats like trios.
Right, filling out the sound.
Definitely. And it wasn't just guitarists. Bass players loved it too. Using those deep -1 and -2 octave voices, maybe blending in a fifth below, you could create these incredibly thick, layered synth-bass tones. Massive low-end foundation.
And then the ambient and experimental crowd, they must have had a field day with the freeze and expression stuff.
Oh, completely. For creating evolving drones, atmospheric pads, weird textures. It was, and still is, a sound designer's dream in a pedal format. You could get so much out of just a single note fed into it.
So looking back at the EHX family tree, where did the HOG fit? How did it relate to the POGs that came after, like the POG2 or Micro POG?
It was absolutely the flagship. The big, complex statement piece for polyphonic pitch shifting and synthesis. The POG line became about delivering excellent octave sounds in smaller, simpler, more user-friendly packages. The HOG was always about going deep, offering maximum control and sonic range.
It really seemed to embody that EHX philosophy of sometimes making pedals that are almost standalone instruments.
Yeah, exactly. It sits alongside other ambitious EHX designs from that era, like the flanger hoax or the frequency analyzer. Pedals that maybe weren't for everyone, but offered really unique sonic possibilities if you were willing to dive in.
That original HOG, the 2007 one, it definitely developed a bit of a cult following, partly because it was so powerful, maybe a bit intimidating too. But EHX refined it, didn't they?
They did. In 2012, they released the HOG2.
HOG2, what were the main improvements there?
It was mostly about refinement and modernization. They improved the core DSP, apparently making the tracking even cleaner and faster, though the original was already great. Big additions were expanded preset memory, crucial for saving those complex patches.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And really importantly, they added full MIDI implementation.
Okay, MIDI control. Why was that such a significant upgrade for a pedal like this?
It basically integrated the HOG2 fully into modern setups. With MIDI, you could recall presets instantly using a foot switch. You could automate parameter changes from a sequencer or control things like the filter sweeps or pitch bends using external MIDI controllers. Made it way more practical for complex live shows or detailed studio work.
It turned it from a powerful standalone box into something that could be part of a larger electronic music system.
Precisely. And that HOG2 is still in production today, still regarded as one of the most powerful deep pedals EHX makes. It really cemented the legacy of the original HOG's concept.
So wrapping up this deep dive then, it feels like the HOG was really pivotal, not just another pitch shifter, but this integrated harmonic synthesis system for guitarists and bassists. It seriously blurred the line between a pedal effect and, like you said, a synth module.
Absolutely. Which kind of leaves us with a final thought for you, the listener, to chew on. When a single pedal like the HOG gives players that kind of deep control over harmony and synthesis right there at their feet, how does that fundamentally alter what we expect from our gear in terms of sonic freedom? And what might that imply for the future of sound design tools?
A great question to ponder. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the EHX HOG. We'll catch you on the next one.